Hello, my name is David Allen of Abbey Floor Care, and I restore stone floors throughout the UK. This is a walkthrough of one of my stone floor projects to help you understand what's involved in restoring a stone floor. If you have any questions about this project or any of my services, please don't hesitate to drop me a line. Thank you. This is a 2-day Terrazzo polishing project in Ironbridge, Shropshire. The Terrazzo tile floor was over 50 years old and was in reasonable condition for its age. However, there were a few issues to be resolved. There was a lot of lippage across the floor. Lippage is a term used to describe differences in elevation between the edges of adjacent tiles. And most of the lippage was under 2 mm, but there was a lot of it. However, in a few places the lippage was around 4 mm. Also, the floor itself was not flat and slightly undulating. As it was in a Georgian house, the tiles were probably laid on an uneven base. The terrazzo finish was grimy and well worn, and there were lots of areas of lost grout that needed filling. I originally quoted for a mid-sheen finish. However, after talking to my customer's wife, it was obvious she wanted a highly polished finish. Day 1. Before starting any restoration, I installed plastic sheet around the room to stop any splashes from the grinding process going onto the walls. I started grinding the floor with 30 grit diamond metal bond tooling. This tooling is designed to remove a thin layer from the surface of the floor on each pass. In most cases, I only need to make 2 or 3 passes. However, I had to make 6 passes on this floor to remove most of the lippage. There were a few tile corners that had not been ground, but they were hardly noticeable. However, I did not want to grind the floor anymore, as I did not know if the tiles were all terrazzo or cement tiles that had been coated with a thin layer of terrazzo. And my client was happy with my decision. Next, I used transitional copper and diamond resin tooling to remove the scratches made by grinding to prepare the floor for honing. Before finishing day 1, I coated the floor with a densifying chemical to toughen up the cement in the terrazzo and help improve the final shine. On day 2, I started by filling the lost grout with a reddy brown resin filler. In the end, I had to fill about 2/3 of the floor. While waiting for the resin to cure, I ground and honed the floor edges with an electric hand grinder and hand polisher. The big grinding machine grinds the floor to within 5 mm of the edge. My client had removed most of the skirting boards, so I only had to grind and hone the edges of the floor around the window area, a cupboard, the doorway and some radiator fittings. The edge work took me about 3 hours. If I had to do all the edges, the work would easily have taken a full day. After finishing the edges, I used the final transitional copper and diamond resin tooling to finish the honing stage and remove the excess resin off the floor. I started the polishing stage with 400 grit resin diamond tooling, followed by 800 grit resin diamonds. Unfortunately, I noticed a couple of areas with scratches remaining from the grinding stage. This can happen particularly with slightly undulating floor surfaces. Thankfully, it was a small job to revert back to the transitional diamonds to remove the scratches. Then it was a case of repolishing the areas. I finished the resin diamond polishing with 1500 grit diamonds, leaving a high sheen finish, and I used fine polishing powder to give the floor its deep lustrous gloss. Finally, I applied a high quality impregnating sealer. An impregnating sealer helps protect the floor against spills and makes the floor easier to clean. I explained to my customer that the sealer will not offer protection against acid spills. I also explained the importance of dry sweeping and damp mopping the floor regularly with a travertine floor cleaner. Standard floor cleaners can be too acid or alkaline, and repeated use will damage a travertine floor finish. A travertine floor cleaner contains additives that help to maintain the finish and the impregnating sealer. My client and his wife were absolutely delighted with the finish. If you are looking for a terrazzo polishing service or help with stone floor restoration, please drop me a line. I'll be happy to help. Thank you.